Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hopefully, you guys are doing absolutely amazing. By the time you see this, it will be Friday, so happy Friday. But I basically wanted to go over the trade that I took today and how I netted a 1 to 5 risk to reward on NAS100. So, without further ado, let's get it. Let's go. And as always, I love being able to really share my journey and really share content with you guys. So, make sure that you subscribe. That's all that I ask is that you subscribe and you like the video. And yeah, let's get it. So when it came to NAS 100, I was looking for shorts. So one of my reasons behind why I was looking for shorts was the daily time frame, oddly enough, on SPX. As you can see over here on the daily, we were pushing off of this zone. This is where we basically were. We were wicking into it. And also on NAS itself, we were wicking into it as well. And I basically figured, okay, the daily is a very, very strong structural zone. Okay, on Thursday, we were wicking up here. As you can see, this is Thursday's candle, right? So this is yesterday's candle. It is closed already. But for reference, we were wicking here in this area. And I said, okay, well, the market most likely doesn't want to hold bullish, right? It was very, very wicky. And if you look left, it'll always help you get right. So we had a really, really big fair value gap over here as well. This was from September, but this still stands. I believe I said this in yesterday's video as well, but basically the same concept as for why I took this trade. You have the same thing on SPX. However, you don't have that same fair value gap. That fair value gap is all the way up here on February 14th. But nevertheless, I always do top-down analysis. I went down to the 8-hour, basically seeing where the structural points were. Obviously, this was here at 9 a.m. I was looking at the chart at like 9:15-ish. So I seen this. I'm like, okay, cool. The market can possibly pull back into that area, right? And then on the 4-hour as well, we had that same structural zone. So I knew for a fact that if the market wanted to go up, it was going to have to fight its way through a bearish 4-hour fair value gap. That's the 8-hour. And that's going to be very hard for the market to do. And then over here, just to make it not as confusing, I did have a zone on my chart. This was my fib level. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but from yesterday's video, go back and check if you want to. But we had this zone as well that SPX was pushing off of. If you look at NAS 100, I do have a zone here that NAS was pushing off of as well, but NAS was further down within its zone at that particular time. So I kind of used this as a confluence that if SPX can push out of here and stay below here, then there's a better chance that I have a more likability for NAS 100 to push out of there and drop. So other than that, for more confluence, right? We're bearish. So what I either wanted to see, I had two analyses, two analyses slash two things that came into my head that I thought could have played out, right? If we break this area right here that you can see on the chart, this zone, and then we basically do something like this, we break above it and we close above, we could pull back and then the market can continue to go up afterwards. So let me draw that out on the chart again since it didn't work. But basically, say we break above here, I would expect for the market to pull back into that zone and then retest it / come back to that exact same area in order to continue going up / to prove to me that there is bullish order flow / there is bullish / buyers in the market that want to bring the price higher. So seeing that we didn't have that happen, what I wanted the market to basically do was basically just maintain the levels that it gave me on the hourly. You can also see that there was a fair value gap here at 6 a.m. And you can see that we created highs at 4 a.m., right? Now, obviously, there was news with Trump, and that's what dropped the market, but that wasn't my main prerogative. I wasn't really focused on the news. I was more focused on the technicals because I always say news is just the excuse because the news could have said anything. During this morning, the news was actually bullish. So most people would have thought, okay, cool, the market's buying. The market did not buy, actually. So I'm going to go down to the 5-minute, but this is what it looks like on the 30-minute for structure. So as you can see, we created a higher high here. The market pulled back, created a higher low, and then we came up here and created another higher high. And then we had a huge change of structure because we broke past the higher low and in change created a lower low. And then the market came up here and created a lower high. Okay. So when the market created a lower high, I knew immediately, okay, cool. The market is definitely going to sell from here. And as I said earlier, back again with SPX, right? By default, if SPX sells, NAS100 is going to sell too. Same with US 30, but I didn't look at US 30 today. I was more focused on SPX and NAS because I have this zone here, as you can see, which is the same zone that's on NAS100, except the one on NAS100 is a lot higher, as you guys seen earlier. But you can see we pushed into this zone, right? And I knew for a fact if we closed below it, the market is going to want to respect that. And then we will have a pullback afterwards because the market usually always retraces. But 935, we seen the market close, 940 actually. We seen the market close below it. But I seen that we were in this zone. So I said, okay, cool, it's game time. And we had a higher low here. So what's the market more likely to do after it creates a lower high is what we had here. So what's the market more likely to do after it create a lower high? The market's more likely to create a lower low and then pull back and then continue downwards. So that's why I used that to basically show me what NAS100 was basically going to do next, right? And then as you can see right here, we created a fair value gap as well, which was also my reason as for why I entered the trade. 930, we had a fair value gap. It was at my zone right here. We have a major break of structure, creating more momentum towards the downside. So over here, we push down, and then the market retraces. As I anticipated, at this point, I was up probably $9 or something like that, nothing crazy. And then the market pulled back into my zone. This was another fair value gap as well. And I expected that it was going to pull back here. And if the market was going to actually continue pushing down, we're going to continue to respect this fair value gap and then push down. So I had this written up as pullback question mark, and it was indeed a pullback. If it wasn't a pullback, I was going to close the trade here, take my $9 and go. But that is pretty much that. And then the market pushed back down. Now, you might be wondering, Venice, why was the zone that you expected it to go to around here? Perfect. I can definitely explain that for you. So if we go to the 30-minute chart, you can see what happened prior as for why my zone was there in the first place. We have this zone here because of this right here. This is where the trade ended up happening. And this is basically my fib level. So this is my 88 to 78% fib level zone. So I wanted to see the market come back there in order to be balanced from the Trump news that we had the day before today / yesterday. So the Trump news that we had yesterday, right, made the markets go crazy. And we all know that SPX and NAS100 don't like to leave US 32. They don't like to leave money on the table. So I had a feeling that she would probably pull back into this area. And she did. I didn't hold the trade for that long, obviously, because I was like, whatever, it'll happen, but only God knows when it will happen. We ended up pulling back fully. And if you would have held this fully, you could have caught an even more solid risk to reward. But I was good with my 1 to 5. And let me basically tell you how long it took for this trade to play out. I think that's always important as well as market structure. We had the fair value gap. We played off of this fair value gap as well, but it took from 935, because this was my entry right here, I was able to get out of this trade, or I got out of this trade at my take profit at 10:05. So this trade took 30 minutes. So that was a pretty good, solid setup for me. And yeah, let's see how much money you could have made if you would have held it all the way through. So all the way through would have netted you a 1 to 8 risk to reward. So you risk $1, you make $8. You risk $10, you make 80. You risk $100, you make $800. So definitely game-changing moves. This is one of my favorite setups. And that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful. Hopefully you learned something from it. If you did, definitely let me know what your biggest takeaway from this video was. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.